Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made 10 changes from the team that won at Aston Villa on Sunday as they face Liverpool tomorrow night. Caused a little bit of a ruckus, I have to say. A great debate on talkSPORT's kickoff. Trevor Sinclair, Danny Mills, Hugh Wozencroft, they went at it over Ole's rotation.
Now, we're talking about Manchester United, and listen, the fans demonstrated against Liverpool. The game's been reorganised. Manchester United have made 10 changes to their... Without being disrespectful to the players that played tonight, they've made 10 changes. This is their B squad. This is their B team. I think that's disrespectful, and I think it takes a little bit away from the top four title, from the top four race, because you're looking at if you ask Chelsea,
so it wasn't
Liverpool,
disrespectful from Pep at the weekend to play 9 changes against Chelsea.
It's nothing to do with it. Manchester City have got that privilege because they've already made it, and they've not had to cancel a game because they can't safeguard their stadium. I think there needs to be a punishment for Manchester United, and 3 points is not enough because it doesn't affect anything. I honestly feel the way that they've put this team out now, the way that they didn't safeguard their stadium last week, I think a 6-point deduction should be given to Manchester United.
I have to say I agree with Hugh Wozencroft on this one. I think when those teams came out, all of us looked at the Manchester City side and said that's not their best team. It's not the team that they would play in the Champions League final, for example, which will be their best team. But we also looked at Chelsea's side and said there's rotation there as well. So both sides actually mixed their players up. We're not having a go at Chelsea because they ended up winning that game. I do think that there is something to be said with rotation in all teams, not just because of the circumstances.
So wait a minute, we're not having a go at Chelsea because they won the game.
Yeah, well that's it though, isn't it?
But no, it's not. What they do is they pick a team to look after their squad and their players to win a game. That's where the argument, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks a side. He doesn't pick a side thinking about, West Ham need a couple of points here, so I better pick a... That's not his problem. His problem is to look after Manchester United. And he's done exactly what most managers would do. He's got big games coming up. He's got massive games coming. He's got a Europa final coming up. So all he's done is look after Manchester City. Clearly, Liverpool and West Ham would have wanted a stronger United team to play against Leicester. That makes sense, but it's not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's problem. And where the argument is completely flawed, you can't talk about the quality of player. Manchester City played a weakened side against Chelsea. Now, you might say, weakened side, it's full of internationals. But the fact of the matter is, it's not the best side that Pep Guardiola had available to him. So it's the same principle.
Charlie?
Every manager picks their best, not the best team obviously available, but the team that they think can win games of football. That's why they've got such big squads, these top teams. So they can use them and rotate them at times that they need it. And Man United needed to rotate last night because they have a game tomorrow. So they can't play what happens if they play a full strength side last night against Leicester? Then he makes changes against Liverpool.
Correct.
Then what happens? He gets criticised for doing that. It's the same as like we're going about the weekend. Pep and Thomas Tuchel make them changes because it's the best for their football club. It's as simple as that. And going about deducting points left, right and centre, but it's not going to happen, is it?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? So Trev coming up in about, what time is it now? Just over an hour and 20 time. And he's saying actually he thinks Manchester United should be docked points because it was their players that caused that game to be moved.
The fans.
Yes, sorry, their fans. Yeah, their players weren't protesting. Ali, what are your thoughts on docking points for that reason?
Well, I think it's unbelievably difficult because I think the club has full responsibility, as they should have, for the welfare and behaviour of their fans within the stadium. Once you start, blaming clubs for their fans' behaviour outside the stadium, in my opinion, it's a completely different issue because they're effectively breaking the law and it's a job for the police. So what you're getting into territory now where you would be punishing Manchester United for their fans breaking into their stadium, where effectively you could argue that Manchester United are the victims of a crime and now you're wanting to punish them. So where do you go there? You've got to be very, very careful there because Manchester United effectively the crime is against the football club because the fans have broken into the stadium. Whatever, look at it like that. But that is what's happened. They are the victim of a crime because they didn't invite the fans in. The fans have broken into the stadium. So we're now wanting to punish Manchester United for effectively not having good enough security to allow a crime being committed against them. That's
I get
dangerous
that.
territory.
Yeah, of course, and I agree with that. I'm going back to the teams. You got to remember, there's 25-man squad every Premier League team has. So they use that. They are going to use every one of them players. Pretty much 99% of them players, aren't they, throughout the year? Doesn't matter if they make 9 changes or 1 change throughout the lot. You are expected them to use the majority of that squad, and that's why every club has so many players in their squad, because they are going to be used. Manchester United used that squad. Plenty of games coming up, regardless obviously what happened a couple of weeks ago and their games just been put in here. They're in 4 competitions. They've made rotations throughout the season, as many top clubs have. They just haven't made as many as that at one point. They've been forced to make them changes because there's a game coming up in 48 hours. All of a sudden, we're now trying to frown upon that, which is something that can't really happen.
If Manchester United's squad was as good as Manchester City's squad, would we not blink at those changes?
Correct.
Because we go,
Correct.
well, they're all great players. That they're bringing on.
But we are arguing about the quality of the player here rather than the principle.
Here's some interesting insight into players and looking after their health, basically. I want your thoughts on this as well, Charlie. So this is according to FIFPro's At the Limit study. A match is considered to be in the critical zone for a player if he's on the pitch for at least 45 minutes, if he's played a minimum of 45 minutes in the previous game, and he did not have at least 5 days recovery between these appearances. And we know that Manchester United were asked to play 3 games in 5 days. He even said, Ollie just said, look, if this is how it's going to go, regardless of whose fault it was that those games were, where the Liverpool game was abandoned, 3 games in 5 days, no player is going to play all those games.
No player is. And don't get me wrong, every player will want to play games. If you're fit, you want to play games, you'd think you're ready to play. But ultimately, you're not going to be at your best. And again, that's why I go on about having that big squad. And it's not going to always be like for like, player in, player out. It's not. Not every team has the luxury of Manchester City. But ultimately, player welfare has to come in. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has protected his team, his whole squad, and made changes. If last night it was 2-2 or Manchester United won 3-2, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's as simple as that. Unfortunately, it got beat 2-1. Has it really affected the league standings? I'm not too sure.